Oh, please don't.
Here we go. All right. Welcome everyone to the official Shaping EDU online community orientation. This is an opportunity to sync up with each other, learn more about the vision of the community, learn about some important announcements, but most importantly, it's the subject of this meeting, learn how to best engage with the online community we've set up for you in all the neighborhoods that exist. I'm so thrilled to be joined by a group of Shaping EDU constituents, several of them comprising the mayoral positions in the Shaping EDU community, and we'll be introducing them shortly here as well. We're also joined by Lev Ganek from ASU. As you know, the UTO at ASU has been a great support of this, catalyzing this whole initiative. By all means, everyone, please feel free to use the chat. The official hashtag, as always, is hashtag ShapingEDU. And my goal is to get through some of the presentation and tour aspects of this as quickly as possible so that you guys all have an opportunity to engage with each other and ask questions, and I can step out of the way. Sound good, everyone? All right. I'm going to go ahead and share my screen then.
Capture the intellectual.
Oh, and this is also a good opportunity for me just to say, if you are not speaking or don't have a question, I just would ask you to mute your microphone so we can eliminate any transient noises. So welcome, dreamers, doers, and drivers who were at the inaugural unconference in April of last year, as well as all the new voices and faces in our community. I'm excited to welcome you to the Shaping EDU community in the online orientation. You can always, as always, learn more about this initiative at the link below on the ASU UTO website. I just also want to be super clear about this, that I know there's a lot of higher education folks here, but there's also folks from other sectors. So Shaping EDU has really become a really great collection of thought leaders and action leaders from higher education, K-12, and industry as well. It takes a concerted effort and continuous conversation between all kinds of groups of people to enact change. So it's great to see that represented in our own constituency, in our own neighborhoods. Where we all really started was at the 2018 unconference that took place at ASU with a number of institutional sponsors. So we thank them, and what came out of that event was a lot of deep thinking around how we shape the future of learning in the digital age. And for those of you who have seen the graphic facilitation that Karina Branson has done that have come out of this event, this lighthouse will be no stranger to you. When we talk about the vision of Shaping EDU and what we're really trying to do here, it's, if we think about ourselves as being situated in these action-oriented neighborhoods, what are we trying to accomplish collectively? Well, of course, we want to bolster student success. We want to have a say in what the future of leadership looks like. We want to encourage collaboration across institutional borders, across sectors. We want to spread digital fluency, not just literacy, but fluency. And we want to definitely promote next generation learning in the environments that facilitate them. And so at the unconference, people came with ideas ready to share their visions of the future of learning in the digital age and the various challenges or themes that they saw on the road to getting there. People at the unconference then kind of self-selected to get together in defined spots in the unconference site at ASU, and they were informally then referred to as neighborhoods. So for example, I think at one point I was sitting with the personalizing learning neighborhood, and then I jumped to a different one. And so when we thought, how do we expand this type of thinking and work and collaboration year round, it was important for us to build a online community where these conversations and action-oriented activities could take place. And so what you see here on my screen is our online community, and there's the link to get there. If you're not registered there yet, this is a great opportunity to get registered. It just takes just a few seconds. But what you see in the screenshot is just a snapshot of some of the neighborhoods that very much reflect a synthesis of the themes discussed at ShapingEDU. So we have embed data-driven approaches for student success, for example, foster immersive learning, and ShapingEDU neighbors have joined various neighborhoods and have started engaging in discussions there. So as I mentioned, there's 10 neighborhoods, and most importantly, each neighborhood has a call to action. The first thing that's going to happen within these neighborhoods, when you get there, waiting in each neighborhood is a call to action. And I'll give you a little tour of the community so you can see exactly what I'm talking about. But just to keep this in the back of your minds as we move forward, the very first activity waiting for you in your neighborhoods is to review the current call to action that we set forward based on the conversations at the inaugural conference. Review it, see if it makes sense to you, ask questions of each other, determine if and how you want to adapt the current call to action. And then once you've adapted it to your liking and you feel like it's something that you could have collective ownership over, commit to adopting it together and moving it forward. Figure out what types of resources you can leverage from each other's universities or organizations, and really be thinking about what if you had 15 focused minutes every day to focus on innovation efforts? What could you accomplish? Within the ShapingEDU community, there's also a library. I've added a number of resources, but it's not limited to just what I've added. You are welcome to add resources there as well. There's a starter kit waiting for you with encouraged activities and resources. There's also a technology guide if you ever are having trouble navigating the community. A lot of the calls to actions that we're about to talk about are pretty lofty. So there's also a framework that was designed by the organization Future We, waiting there as well to help you figure out how to start attacking those challenges and much more. So let's get into really the purpose and the mission, the vision, you know, why we're all here and why we're all doing this together, and what are these neighborhoods. Joining me today are leaders of these various neighborhoods, people that we're referring to as mayors, just to carry the community theme forward. So every neighborhood is an action-oriented theme, and every neighborhood has its own mayor to help facilitate you know, conversations and help keep things moving. The first neighborhood is promote access and equity. And we have a question that arose out of ShapingEDU, out of the conference, that led to our call to action. And our call to action being to solicit and disseminate proposals from the global community on actionable investments in this area. I know that Ruben is one of the co-mayors of this neighborhood, and he is here today. I know he is having intermittent audio and video issues. Ruben, if you're able, feel free to say hi. If not, we'll move right along.
Okay, let's see. I hope this is coming through. If everybody can hear me, excellent. That's good to hear.
Yes.
Wonderful. So good afternoon, everyone. It's really a pleasure to be here and a pleasure to be sharing the mayoral responsibilities for promoting access and equity. My own perspective on the topic has many different elements to it, but I'll just mention one because I was just, excuse me, at a conference in Canada talking about how universal design for learning and accessibility play into the whole picture of equity. So as we develop this community, as we work together in it, these are elements, these are aspects that I would like to bring to the foreground and talk about how we can look at the next generation of possibilities so that we are promoting indeed access and equity for all. So thank you all for coming and looking forward to working with everyone.
Thank you, Ruben. And I should say his co-mayor, Christine Savi from UC Denver, is also helping lead that community work as well. So thank you to Ruben and Christine. The next neighborhood. So if you're thinking, hey, I'm not a part of a neighborhood yet, but I'd like to be, thinking about the ones that resonate most with you. This next one is about how to better connect our learning experiences to the workforce, not just of today, but of the future. And so, of course, we have our question that is sort of an artifact of the ShapingEDU inaugural conference, and then our call to action. And joining us today is one of the co-mayors from this neighborhood, Paul Signorelli. Paul, want to say a few words?
I am shocked to be co-mayor. I can't even get elected to be mayor of my neighborhood pizzeria, so really step up in the world for me. I'm working with Jonathan Alder, who I hope many of you already know. Jonathan's from Australia, was very active in NMC. He has a fabulous website called futurewe.org. And I would suggest any of you that were looking for what Sam just talked about, a neighborhood to hang in, this is going to be a great one, because Jonathan has been thinking a lot about the literacies, the 5 things he thinks people are going to need over the next 10 to 20 years to survive in a workplace that is changing so much. I'm going to give you the briefest of things because I know we've only got a minute here. But the 5 issues that he's tackling there are creativity, community, thinking and planning, project delivery, and storytelling, where we get out and tell our stories. The work he's doing very much overlaps with what I've been doing, trying to draw together learners at all levels of education, particularly higher education, with the workplace training programs that I've been involved in. So if you have any kind of an affinity for that, we would love to have you join the neighborhood, and we'll just welcome you in, and we'll get a new mayor who can run a pizzeria.
Thank you so much, Paul, and of course, Jonathan as well. Our next neighborhood is all about building constellations of innovation, which was a subject matter of our last Shaping EDU Live broadcast. So I know Jill Boobin of Unison is the mayor of that community. She couldn't be here today, but this is a wonderful neighborhood to be in. If you're thinking about how to expand our networks, our communities of practice, to move beyond the perspectives that we know and share, to engage new voices in different kinds of communities, to make sure that we're not so insular, that we're constantly considering new and diverse viewpoints. Our next neighborhood is recognizing all forms of learning. This one is very near and dear to my heart because it's just really important. You know, once you have your degree, or even if you're not sure you want that traditional degree, what are other ways that we can recognize and reward our learning experiences? There's micro-credentials, there's e-portfolios, digital badges, all sorts of alternative ways to recognize learning are cropping up, and I'm pleased to welcome Lisa Gustinelli as the mayor of that neighborhood.
So hello, I have a little bit different perspective, having been in K-12 and then in higher ed, and then K-12, which is really my place and my love. But so I've seen what's going on from young children all the way up through higher ed, and it's necessary now to offer students, whether they've finished with their degree, like you said, Samantha, or they're working on it, or even younger and working towards, to make connections with industry and leaders in the community to actually allow them to have some great authentic learning experiences, because that's going to help shape what the future, we kind of connect with Paul and Jonathan, I think, because it's going to influence and shape what the future workforce is going to be. So I've been at a couple of different places where, and I've seen in my community, our community college where I was there, they've teamed up with, like, for example, Modernizing Medicine, and students can have opportunities to work with industry experts in that area, in design and in medical technology. And then I also have worked with, we have LexisNexis is headquartered in my city, and they offer a lot of opportunities both to high school students and to the university students, FAU, to actually have mentoring experiences and to really understand what they can do once they finish their studies. So it's a good conversation. And what I like about all the communities too, they really are all connected.
Absolutely. And we were just, before everyone got here, was talking to the mayors about creating for the mayors to be able to cross-pollinate tidbits from their own communities. And of course, there's a full Shaping EDU community, which is the main page of our community. So there's ample opportunity for all of us to get together. And thank you so much, Lisa. We got our personalized learning neighborhood. This is a really exciting one, especially as personalizing learning is taking off in many new directions these days. So I'm really excited to introduce you to the mayor of that neighborhood, Megan.
Hi, my name is Megan, and I'm very excited to join this group to talk about personalized learning. Traditionally, faculty or teachers, they always make assumption that when they teach something, students do not know anything about that subject matters. So they will start to teach from A to Z. However, some students may get bored and some students may have trouble to catch up. So personalized learning is an exciting methodology that you could really give students the cultivation that they need to learn that subject matter. So I really look forward to exploring this area with you all. Thank you.
Thank you, Megan. Next up, we have humanized learning. This one was born out of a conversation about how there's an impetus for many institutions to grow their online learning programs, but are we growing these programs before we've really mastered the art of ensuring that we are creating authentic opportunities where people feel welcome and comfortable and confident? What can we do to deepen interactions in such environments? So I'm really excited to introduce you guys to Tom Haynes, the mayor of this neighborhood.
And I had a completely different read on that than you did.
That's why we're all getting together. Diversity of viewpoints. That's great.
Well, I mean, to me, humanized learning is really about empowering students, and that is a separate and overarching topic over and above anything around online learning. I've been doing a lot on empowering students lately. I've actually been practicing it. I have to take my hats off to Emily Ray, because I stole her RISE model and have completely readapted it for my empowered learning class. So we can talk offline at some point about that. But no, I mean, I see this all the time. I mean, there's always this tension in a classroom between and online, between the logistics of moving students through the program, the realities of a 16-week or 8-week or however long a semester you have, and of course the tyranny of grades, and all of those things serve to dehumanize the students, whether that's online or in person. And those are markers of an industrialized education model, and it's really hard to push that stuff off into the background, and it really gets in the way of people actually learning anything. And so that's been one of my windmills that I've been tilting at a lot lately.
Well, thanks, Tom, for sharing that. It's why one of the many reasons we're lucky to have you with us. Next up, and this is actually a neighborhood I've decided to join, not just necessarily as a community organizer, but as a participant, near and dear to my heart, bolstering intergenerational leadership for learning futures. How do we illuminate and develop younger voices in higher education? This also can be about amplifying student voice as well. And I'm really proud to have Mark Fink here from Ithaca College as the mayor of this neighborhood. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you, Sam. Sorry, I ran in the house, turned on the computer, and got a glass of water, but apparently not enough, and it is water. So, bolstering the intergenerational community to work together has been really a passion of mine, because what happens, and one thing I noticed at the April conference is there was a lot of us, and not just I noticed this, others did, that there's different groups of age pockets of generations, and very few iGens. And so how do we carry on what we're doing? And so part of this is looking at how do we incentivize that? How do we have students who are going to be the recipient of our designs and of our pedagogies be involved in it? Some of the things that we talked about were on courses where the student is engaged with the faculty member and instructional designer in building the concepts. There was a little water testing I did at a presentation in physics this week, and it was really interesting because I used like adaptive learning, personalized learning, inquiry and experiential in different ways. And by just announcing these and addressing these, the evaluations from the students was off the charts. Why haven't we been doing this for years? This is the way, don't they get it? And so I actually used the brain science studies. It was really, it's almost like if we don't do this, it's going to happen anyway. So how do we make this happen in a meaningful way that actually helps increase their learning? So it's really excited. I'm like, please, there's so many great neighbors. So I'm humbled to be the mayor. I get to work with Susan Metros again after 25 years, so that's always a privilege. And if you want to join, then come on. My last real quick statement is that some of the things that they mentioned doing in other contexts around campus are using, like in music, using AR and VR, and even maybe for different one-on-one environments across the continents. So it's been really, this is like threaded through all of our different discussions. I think that's really powerful, how we can help each other in our neighborhoods. Thanks, Sam.
Awesome. No, thank you, Mark. Well said. Did I hear AR, VR? Because next up we have fostering immersive learning. This is an exciting one. The co-mayors of this neighborhood had a chance to present, you know, this whole new category of extended reality at the ShapingEDU Unconference. So I'm really excited to welcome Emery Craig and Maya Georgieva.
Thank you. It's wonderful to be here. Can you all hear me okay? Good. Okay. Maya is around. She should be on in a few minutes. She may be there. She's doing such. She's multitasking at the minute, so I'll speak for both of us as co-mayors. Hey, this area is a fascinating and exciting area that we think is going to have a profound impact on education and society. This is, as we see it, a new way of using technology. This is not technology as an information tool, but this is technology that codes human experience. And it has of course, the possibilities of, and it will bring experience back into the learning environment in a very John Dewey-esque kind of way, which then we have to say, if learning begins with experience, how does it actually become learning in taking that experience and turning it into reflection. And there's, of course, all the low-hanging fruit here, you all know, the simulations in the medical field and like that. But I think what is really of interest to us is using it in seeing virtual reality and augmented reality and the whole XR realm used in storytelling and the liberal arts, because that's where it's going to get incredibly creative and, of course, incredibly complex. And there's all sorts of ethical issues here that are coming up and accessibility issues that we've also been dealing with. So that is our little neighborhood. And it's really not about the technology. It's about how we're going to learn through the technology and how that's going to transform us in society. I'm
going to steal the phrase of coding the human experience. And I'm just going to use it infinitely. That is like poetry to my ears.
Thank you.
Next up, innovating artificial intelligence applications. Very exciting. I'm really pleased to welcome Nancy Rubin, who's going to talk about how AI can be leveraged in tandem with human capacity to deepen learning.
Yeah, I'm really excited to have the opportunity to be the mayor for the community. I mean, AI is everywhere. I'm embarking right now on rolling out a chatbot at my school, so this fits right in. I'm curious to see where we start and where we might wind up, you know, where artificial intelligence fits into education in general. So I think many of us, these are all really relevant topics, and we'll probably be leading the way on thinking through how all of these technologies can be applied to education. And this is an area that I'm personally interested in and would love for everybody to join our neighborhood.
Awesome. We're so happy to have you aboard. Thank you, Nancy.
Yeah.
Last but certainly not least, we have embedding data-driven approaches for student success. And this is all about the data. And what does the data tell us? How do we more authentically measure student gains? We know that a mere visit to a course page does not signify engagement. So how can we do a better job of that? And how can we ingrain that in our culture? I'm really happy that Tanya Justin is the mayor of this community. Because I'm sharing my screen, I can't necessarily at this point see who all has arrived. Tanya, are you here? No worries. You will love Tanya. She is leading an effort called Data at University of Wisconsin-Milwaukee, which is extremely relevant to this work. And I know I've seen her in the neighborhood and the online community, so I know she's excited to work with and meet you all. Okay, so what is next? You know, you've heard about the neighborhoods and the various calls to action and the you know, themes that are running through them. So how's this collaboration going to work? So In the starter kit that I'm about to show you in the online community, there are some ideas about how to share resources, initiating a group charter, potentially creating some custom taxonomies, suggestions for, checking in. We realize people are busy and this group is globally dispersed, and so progress check-ins could happen asynchronously somehow. And then, of course, timelines. This is really an action-oriented community. It's important to have these deep and meaningful discussions, but we're really trying to move the needle of progress in education. And so how do we do that? How do we organize ourselves to be able to undertake this work? And so within the starter kit, there is suggestions, just suggestions for potential roles that you could undertake in your communities. I introduced you to the mayors, of course, so we know who they are. But there's an opportunity for others to get involved in ways that that resonate with them. And again, these are suggestions. If you have an idea for a different type of role, get in there and take on that role. These are just ideas. An evaluator could be someone that might evaluate the progress towards the goal. Documentarian might be someone who's actually chronicling the progress of the group. Activist might be someone who's really good at taking broad ideas and turning them into action. An investigator could be someone who is a researcher and wants to establish a framework and make sure everything is grounded in science. And then, of course, the great thing about this community is there's constantly an influx of new voices. And so having someone that's dedicated to being the welcome wagon to welcome new people and make them feel a part of the neighborhood will be really important moving forward. There's more detail in that in the starter kit, but I encourage you all to think about what could you uniquely contribute to this experience. I posted a blog in the ShapingEDU community that, at least in my vision, had some of the tenets of the ShapingEDU community. And one of them was that ShapingEDU is individuals over affiliations. We all come from different institutions and organizations, but we're all here because we have our own unique personal and professional interests and skill sets. So I encourage you to use what makes you unique and bring your authentic self to the table here. And so if you haven't joined a neighborhood and are wondering where to get started and how to even sign up, once again, there's a link to do so on the main page. On that link, there's a join button. And then I'm about to give you an online community tour. But before I do, I'd be remiss not to remind you to save the date. The second annual Unconference is happening in Tempe, Arizona, March 11th through 13th. Kicking off the evening of the 11th with an opening reception and ending midday on the 13th. So be sure to mark your calendars. We will be circulating registration information very soon. All right, I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. But before I do, I want to stop the share, check the chat, and see if there's any questions for me or about this community overall. Yes, Jim.
Can you say a little bit more about what you hope comes out of all this? So we have these amazing conversations for 6 to 9 months or something, and then what happens?
Great question. So each neighborhood has a call to action, and I've shared those on the slides. And so the goal is to move towards that call to action. So if one of the calls to action is to create a set of standards, then the goal in 6 months is how far along can we get on creating that set of standards? How do we want to publish it? Should we openly license it? And so be thinking about what it's going to take to actually accomplish the call to action. And what that means for various neighborhoods, might look a little bit different, but the goal is to put it in your hands and have you help define what that looks like and how you would get there. Does that help? Awesome, thank you. Any other questions before I show you a little bit around the community? All right, I'm just gonna pull it up on my screen and get started. All right, is everyone able to see my screen?
Yep.
Awesome, great. So this is me, I'm logged in right now. And if you are not logged in, there is a little registration. If you're just going here from scratch, there's a little registration button that will be at the top. But once you've logged in, you'll have access, and you've registered, you'll have access to the full community. And so that's the main page. You'll be able to see new topics, Sorry about that. Apparently my login timed out. You'll be able to see any new topics that have been posted, and also start new topics. If you want to know who is a part of this community, you could click on the neighbor list and see who's all here. If you want to learn more about who the neighbors are, I'm going to go ahead. I know Casey's here today, so I'm going to go ahead and click on Casey. I see a picture of Casey. A little bit of information about where he's coming from. I can see what neighborhood he's a part of. Okay, he's part of the Promoting Access and Equity neighborhood. That's awesome. And he's with ASU. Go Sun Devils. If you are also wondering, well, who's online? I'd rather have some synchronous communications right now. This is a great way to see who's online. You could private message someone and connect with them that way. Just click private message if I wanted to private message Jim, for example. I mentioned that there's a library of resources waiting for you. Not only is there the neighborhood roster in Excel form, in case you want something that you can quickly download beyond the neighbor list. I mentioned that there's a tech guide for navigating this community if you need it, if you ever feel stuck. Of course, we have the 10 actions to shape the future of education communique that lists all the original calls to action and all the themes of the neighborhoods, and also a little bit of context for how we got there. We have this starter kit, and I have to also toot Emily Ray's horn, because Emily Ray actually designed and produced this starter kit, and she did a really, really amazing job. There's a number of resources in it. For example, ways to break the ice within your neighborhoods and get to know each other. There's resources for if you wanted to create a charter for your neighborhood of what you're going to accomplish, and all sorts of other resources and recommendations so that you don't feel like you need to start from scratch. I presented a slide deck here today. If you were wondering, okay, I'd like other people from my institution to get involved, I'd like other people in my networks to get involved, but I'd like to share more about the work we're doing, how do I do that? Feel free to use the ShapingEDU slide deck. And then I mentioned, as we're addressing our calls to action, it's really important a lot of times to have to ground it in a framework. And Jonathan Nalder is not only the mayor, a co-mayor of the Connect Education to the Workforce of the Future neighborhood, but he also leads an organization called Future We, and they've developed a framework to help education change makers become future ready and address challenges such as the ones that we've talked about today. Additionally, there is a blog forum, and the blog is the one aspect of the ShapingEDU online community right now that is public. So if you're learning something and you want to present your perspective to the world, feel free to start a blog post. Tom posted something great. I posted an inaugural blog post about what this community means to me to kick things off. I encourage you guys to comment on each other's work. You want to create a new blog entry, you just click on the little plus sign to do so. I'm subscribed to this. If I wasn't, there'd be a little button over here that says subscribe, and I can choose to subscribe. What does it mean when you subscribe? So I will show you. When you subscribe to something or you've joined a neighborhood, anytime someone posts something that you're a part of or subscribe to, it will show up in your notifications. I'm in the ShapingEDU community all the time, so I have no new notifications because I'm constantly in there. It will show you how many private messages you have, where the conversations are happening. And if you're one of those people that's like, I need to get an email notification to remind myself to jump back into this community, we've got you covered. Once you've created a user profile for yourself, just go to your user settings, click on notifications, and you can turn on email notifications. You can have them on for everything. You can create a daily digest or a weekly digest, and you can get really nuanced about what types of email notifications you do or don't receive. I'm subscribed to everything. I want to get an email if someone likes my post, votes on a poll I've started, confirms a subscribe request. Of course, you may not wish to get into that level of detail, but I would encourage you to turn your notifications on at the very least for if you're tagged in a post, someone responds to something that you've posted. This is where you would fill out your profile about yourself. I've not added my biography yet, shame on me, but I will do that right after this call. We have a calendar as well, so you can see what Shaping EDU events are coming up. For October, ooh, I don't know why, that's weird. They're showing up on the full community right now. I'm sorry about that. They should be showing up on the side. I might have to re-add them. Here we go. So it has the Shaping EDU Unconference. I guess there's no other events in October added right now, but we have the Shaping EDU Unconference save the date here as well. Okay, so the neighborhoods, probably the place that you'll be hanging out the most. So here's where you find the neighborhoods. And if you are new to the community, you'll be able to click on the neighborhood that you want to join, and there'll be an option to join it. And so I'm in the Bolster Intergenerational Leadership for Learning Futures neighborhood. So I'm going to click on that one. And I'm going to see that this is our call to action as a neighborhood. We're going to work towards creating a blueprint for a cross-institutional program that incentivizes and rewards the participation and growth of students and emerging leaders. Excited to do that. Right now I'm working with Mark, Lisa, Susan, Emily, and others that will be joining us on this call to action. People have been introducing themselves. Mark started a topic on the mission and vision and neighborhood guidelines. I replied to people's introductions. If you want to create a new topic, you just click the new topic button. You make sure to give it a title, and you have some diversity in what you can post. You can post a photo, you can share a link, you could start a poll if you want to get people's opinions on something, or maybe if you're trying to set a date to meet. And then of course you could schedule an event. You could upload an attachment. And yes, because this is 2018, you could select an emoji to represent your the topic that you add. And then of course you can tag it. Another way that the Shaping EDU community is organized and makes content discoverable is through tags. So we have our existing tags that you could choose from, but you can also choose to create your own. And so anytime a framework is uploaded, for example, you can tag it as framework. Anytime you have a guide or neighborhood activity, you can just tag it with what most makes sense. And that way people could click on tags to get a list of all the neighborhood activities or all the frameworks, for example. I think I promised everyone I would go through this quickly so that there'd be opportunity to engage with each other and ask questions. So I'm going to stop sharing my screen at this point. And just thank everyone for your patience and bearing with me through going through these tours, and see if anyone has any comments or questions. Okay, well let me then put it back on you guys. So now that we've kind of created this space for everyone to hang out and address their calls to action, and again, the first assignment is discuss, adapt, adopt. So in every neighborhood, the call to action is waiting for you. It's up to you to work with people in those neighborhoods to discuss what you think of that call to action, figure out how you'd like to adapt it, update the language, tag me when you have an updated statement so I can actually change the call to action that appears next to your neighborhood, and then begin to figure out the best ways to accomplish it together, or what you want to accomplish initially.
Sam, there's one thing that comes to mind looking at all 10 of these wonderful neighborhoods and feeling like I wish I were part of every one of them. What mechanism do we formally have in place to make sure that the different mayors are communicating things that would appear to be useful in that cross-pollination as we go through? Because we could spend all our time just going, hey, look what I'm doing, what are you doing, and match them up. What do you suggest?
I'm so glad you asked. So in the online community, there's the ability to, once you've shared a post in a neighborhood, you could also choose to copy it to the main forum, to the main community that everyone's a part of. You can move it there. Let's say you're like, well, this applies to our neighborhood, but it's really more applicable to the whole Shaping EDU community and initiative. You can choose to edit your post and click to move it over to the main community. I would also be happy to set up a community, a sub-community or neighborhood for all the mayors. And so that is your, if you have observations and things taking place in your neighborhood that you want to share with other mayors and see how you could work together to cross-pollinate, that would be one way to do that. We're very, very, very open. This community and this platform and the whole Shaping EDU universe has a lot of flexibility and fluidity to, to adapt and, honor the feedback as it comes in from you guys.
It might be useful, and I'm not suggesting that we jump into this right away, but after a month or two of interactions here, it might be interesting to start something formal, like once a month we go into one document and post the one thing we saw in our community that we thought reached across most other communities, so that we keep track of the main themes rather than getting buried under every theme.
I love that. I think that's a wonderful idea.
Okay, I'm done.
We have a series called Shaping EDU Live, and it happens once a month. The next one's happening in a few weeks here. And each Shaping EDU Live addresses a different neighborhood theme. So the next one coming up is all about recognizing all forms of learning, which is one of the neighborhoods. And so I would encourage everyone to attend those events. There are conversations between panelists about those themes, but it's a really great opportunity for people from other neighborhoods to come in and learn more about that topic and bring their own perspectives for it. So that's also a great forum for cross-pollination. But I love the idea and the approach you've taken, Paul, and I would encourage you to post that idea in the community and ask people for comments and to share in that activity with you.
Great. Tom, did you get that? Can you put that out there for me?
What?
And Jim in the chat asked a great question. What's the best way to introduce them to the Shaping EDU community? So there's a Shaping EDU website. That's uto.asu.edu/shapingedu. And I will paste that in the chat. And the home page of that has a join button. And once you join, it asks you to select the neighborhood that you want to be a part of. And within a day or so, it triggers a email welcoming you to the community and in the neighborhood and gives you instructions for how to engage. So, for example, all the people that are currently registered or in the community received communications about how to register, how to get in, and how to join.
So another interesting thing that might be a little out of the box is what if we randomly pick two communities and crash them into each other? Look for intersections, look for things that we're like, okay, so what do we have in common? That's, a lot of times the problem we run into, it's just as a matter of course, is siloing. And of course, you've created a series of silos here, for better or worse. And so we should probably look for some interesting combinations to see. And I would not do this mindfully. I would do this randomly, because then that forces those community members to look for those connections between it. I mean, at the end of the day, we're all in education, so there should be some commonalities. Students, for one. But I think that would be a good way to loosen up the discussion and keep it from getting a little too much like navel gazing. And it would also be something, I'd give it like Paul, that guy, said, give it a month or so to gestate, and then
right,
maybe
sort of do some mystery dating, so to speak.
Well, I love that idea. And I think, the Shaping EDU Live events are a prime opportunity to bring some of that in. But I love the idea of having like informal, focused, groups that come together. The cross-pollination idea and co-oping neighborhoods makes perfect sense. Part of the premise of the next face-to-face Shaping EDU event happening from March 11th to 13th, once again, March 11th to 13th in Tempe, Arizona, is to bring everyone together and identify synergies between the neighborhoods, figure out maybe where there's overlaps and also voids. Maybe there's new neighborhoods that need to be created. Maybe there's not a need to have a couple separate neighborhoods. Maybe we do decide to co-op neighborhoods. Another aspect of the Shaping EDU conference happening in March is we're inviting students. So students are going to be encouraged to come. In fact, we're capping registration at 200 people, but then we're exclusively reserving additional seats just for students. And so students will be invited to showcase their work and also share their hopes and dreams for the future of learning in the digital age as well. And it would be my hope that students would also be joining the neighborhoods as well. In fact, I actually know there's a couple in the neighborhoods already. So in the Promoting Access and Equity neighborhood, I've seen a student, and I forgot the other one that I've seen students in as well, but some of them are in there already.
Students, God forbid. This could be something we could lead up to the event with. I mean, maybe we do a series of these in January, February, as a way of sort of getting everybody a little loosened up before everybody comes together and I actually have to talk to Paul in person.
Well, what I'll say is, let me ask the mayors. I'd love to meet with you, whatever works for your schedule, but I'd like to meet with you somewhat regularly. I see you guys as the conduits to your neighborhoods, and you represent the voices they're in. And so let's work together to make sure that I'm understanding all the feedback and that we're implementing these great ideas that you're having, and I'm here to support you in that work. Awesome. Any other questions or comments about the online community, shaping EDU in general? Anything else? Hopes, dreams, fears? What did you eat for lunch? Okay, great. Well, it's my goal now that everyone feels empowered, if not, at least intrigued to join the online community. If you're just not sure where to engage, maybe this has seemed like a lot for you to take in. I know we've covered a lot of ground today. The very first thing I'll ask of you is just, if you haven't joined a neighborhood, join. If you have joined a neighborhood and you're wondering where to begin, make sure you have a photo on your profile and you're not a grayed out avatar. Fill in a little bit of information about yourself in your bio, and then introduce yourself to your neighbors. Read their introductions, see what they've posted. Then, of course, deeply consider that call to action that's associated with your neighborhood. Think about what it means to you, where you'd like to see it going, and then figure out some strategies with your neighbors. Maybe you want to figure out a time just like this to all get together in a Zoom call. I'd be happy to lend you my Zoom room as well. So just always let me know what you need from me. Any ideas you have for making the experience richer and better. The door to the community is open. And also know that it's an open community, so anyone can join. If you have other people from your institution that are clamoring to join or interested, let's get them in.
And don't forget, if you made the mistake of joining Tom Hames' group, it's not too early to reconsider that.
Absolutely.
Hi, Tom.
Okay. Well, there's no reason to keep everyone here, past when we need to be. I know it's happy hour somewhere. So with that, I'll just thank everyone for coming today. I'll be
not in Chicago.
What was that?
Not in Chicago. The Cubs lost.
I'm actually a White Sox fan, so.
Oh, now you should be drinking heavily.
I'm just reflecting on the better days of 2005.
Go Astros. I'm going to be at the game tomorrow, so if you're watching it on television, look for me. I'll be way up in the nosebleeds.
Another reason to change neighborhoods. That's all I'm going to say on the matter.
Awesome. Well, you guys are part of this community.
Sorry, Oakland.
You're subscribed to announcements. I'll be sharing recordings and other developments with you as we progress. Thank you for all being a part of this. The one message I want to leave you with is just like with all new initiatives, and especially all new communities, when things are new, sometimes there's a little bit of slowness in getting started and knowing where to begin. So thank you for your patience and persistence. I think this is definitely a coalition of the willing, and I think we could accomplish so much together. And so I'm really looking forward to seeing how we grow together.
Looking forward to it.
Thanks so much.
Bye-bye.
Till next time.
Bye.
Thank you.